Hi, everyone. Welcome to the very first episode of Sunday Scaries at Grandma's. My name is Erica Gambatese, and I'm 23 years old.
Hi, my name is Sharon Gambatese, and I'm 77 years old. I'm glad to be sitting here with my beautiful granddaughter.
So, we decided to start a podcast together, basically because for a while now, I've been thinking about starting a podcast. Over the past few years, I've just thought a lot about the future. Growing up, I always thought that I wanted kids and that was something I would want. And then now in the past few years, I feel like so many things are just changing so fast and the world is changing so fast that I honestly would be really afraid to bring kids into this world. And I almost would just feel bad for them and almost guilty to bring kids in this world because I think that so many things are happening right now that are just really going to change the future. Um, and I guess a lot of people are afraid as to where that's going, but I thought it would be really interesting to just talk about it and get my opinions from my grandma, who's lived through a lot of other decades and has seen herself how everything has changed super fastly and just how much has changed since she was my age or even younger. She's kind of like a walking history book.
Sort of, I guess.
So I thought it would be really interesting to have her viewpoints on certain things because I know that she definitely has some opinions on how things are going and how things have changed and where they might be going in the future. So, for our first episode, I wanted to pick a topic that could be interesting to everyone and something that I've thought about a lot recently. And I really wanted to talk about plastic surgery and how it's changed a lot over the past few years and it's growing super quickly. It's definitely affected by social media. So, Mimi, what is your overall opinion on plastic surgery and how you think it's changed over the past few years?
Well, in the beginning, people were only getting Botox. The people that I knew were only getting Botox and they were getting fillers. And now anything goes. They have nose jobs and boob jobs and they,
So, when you were my age,
yeah.
would you ever even think about plastic surgery? Was that even something?
No, not at all.
So, did you know anyone who was getting it when you were my age?
No, nobody. No.
So,
Because I was so young, 23, so young. Your skin is beautiful.
well, yeah, but now, I mean, people are getting plastic surgery as soon as they're 18.
Well, I mean, people that have bad noses and everything, I think that's a good idea. I mean, but nose jobs were always in when I was younger.
So, nose jobs were kind of common when you were young, or was that really just for celebrities and people with a lot of money
No, people that I knew.
for getting nose jobs?
They got nose jobs and they came out fine and then they were happier. Everyone isn't born with a nice nose, so
Well, yes. I mean, I do think that a lot of people, I mean, I think that very recently nose jobs have become very prevalent, especially because of TikTok and other social media that I've seen.
that's true.
And I mean, I know that you actually do have a TikTok, but I don't know if we're on the same type of algorithm on our TikToks.
No.
But I do see a lot of people posting on TikTok about getting a nose job, and they'll do transition videos to before and after their nose jobs. And TikTok is just full of things like hacks and how to get free stuff. And I remember there was a period of time for a few months where people were posting how to get a nose job for free.
How would you do that?
You basically just say that you can't breathe right, but you just really want it for cosmetic reasons, and then insurance covers it.
Oh, I knew that about eyes, that if we had saggy eyelids, that they would give you free surgery. I mean, that was people I know did that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, but in the past 10, 20 years, I think that Botox has definitely revolutionized plastic surgery because I mean, I was born in 1998, so I obviously don't have any memory of when Botox hit the scene and when that was becoming super big, but do you remember when that started blowing up?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, everybody was getting it because it was, well, it's expensive and it doesn't last. That's the problem with that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you have to have money and you have to keep it up.
Right. I do see that it's becoming a lot more cheap and accessible in the past few years.
Yes, definitely. It's all over now.
Yeah. And I remember because I've been watching a lot of Sex in the City, which
Yeah.
like aired in like the late 90s.
Yeah.
And I remember like a lot of the characters were doing things like chemical peels and face masks. And then when Botox hit, it was like the one character was like amazed by it and everything that it did. So I feel like in the early 2000s, it became like huge.
Yes, for sure.
It basically got rid of like a lot of aging
Right.
for a lot of people. So I just think it's interesting how it's definitely changed over the past few years. And then obviously, you have seen how social media has influenced a lot of that too, because
Oh yeah, there's ads on TV
yeah,
for getting facelifts and whatever, and
Right.
then there's the creams that they advertise on, not only TV, on your Facebook page. If you're on that, there's always
yeah.
ads.
Well, yeah, and definitely I think that along with plastic surgery, another thing that is becoming super popular is just skincare and different types of makeup to change aging and also just change like appearance. Like obviously makeup has been around since forever.
Yeah, right.
But I think recently now there's so many different ways to like wear makeup, and it's so easy to learn how to change up your makeup for like certain reasons by looking online. So like if you want to look like you have a slimmer nose, you can do special makeup
That's true.
that makes it look that way.
That's
was
true.
that something that was like around when you were my age, like different techniques to use, or was it more?
It was just, big eyeliner, and no one really showed you how to do it. There was no videos, there was no Facebook, there was no anything. So you just sort of had to learn by yourself.
Yeah, so how would you have like learned back then really how to do it, just from your friends?
Well, I went to beauty school and that was taught
Right.
there a little bit.
Yeah.
So
now it's becoming, well, I mean, even I remember when I was like in middle school watching YouTube videos on how to do makeup and things like that. And now it's like, it's very, very accessible. Like the second you open your phone, you can like see how people are doing different makeups and also how they're changing skincare a lot. Because I mean, I know even for me in the past 2 years, I mean, I got a TikTok a few years ago, and there's definitely a lot of benefits to TikToks, but I feel like there's probably more downfalls to it in the long run because of just how it changes everything. But I spent so much money on skincare products because of TikTok, just making me feel like I need to have them type of thing.
yes, that's true. It's like a, what do you call it? In your mind, it's subconscious in your mind after you listen to it.
Right. Well, I see so many people and they're like, well, I use vitamin C for dark spots. And I'm like, oh, I didn't even realize that I had dark spots type of thing. So then I buy that. And then they're like, well, you should be getting your face wet and then using like hyaluronic acid and then that like plumps your skin, but it has to be wet. And then you use vitamin C and then you go in with, and you have to use sunscreen every single day.
Yes, you do.
Which, I mean, is that something that was also like stressed when you were young at all?
No, when we were young, we used to go out in the sun and we used to lay out there with iodine and baby oil, and we should sit there and bake in the sun.
Yeah.
For hours every summer.
Right. And now it's like sunscreen is hugely pressed on kids and teenagers and young people. I mean, really people of all ages, but that's like the number one thing I see is wear sunscreen every single day so that you don't wrinkle. So now it's like I have probably spent, like, I know last week I bought a whole bunch of new skincare stuff and I spent like $200 on it.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, I like wake up, wash my face with like a $30 cleanser. Then I use a toner. Then I use vitamin C. Then I use hyaluronic acid. And then I use a brightening eye cream. Then I go in with a moisturizing like SPF. And then at night, I wash my face again. And I use retinol. And then I use like a night cream.
So, well, guess what I do? I wash my face with, I have a special wash. And I wash my face. And then after that, I use vitamin E on my face after I get all my mascara and lipstick off.
Yeah.
Just plain vitamin E oil.
Yeah.
And I've been using it for years.
Well, I mean, I used to just wash my face with Dove soap and then use a CeraVe cream every single day. And I mean, I've had problems with my skin like in the past, but I really now in like the past year have like tried so many different skincare things because I can open TikTok. And what's interesting is now you open TikTok and there's dermatologists on there who will tell you like what to do, which is interesting because now you don't have to wait like a month to see a dermatologist to get like advice. Like they'd post and then they'll post, oh, use this product over this product and stuff like that.
So aren't you confused?
Yeah, which is the problem.
I know.
I'm confused and I'm broke now because
right.
I'm spending all of this money on it because I keep thinking that like I need like more and more, and it's like the same thing with like hair and everything like that. So I think that TikTok, especially, I mean other social media of course, but I think that TikTok has very much accelerated like the rate at how like skincare is going and how plastic surgery is going too, because I mean a lot of these things that is considered like the beauty ideal can be done by plastic surgery. So I think that just everything and all these trends are being really enhanced by TikTok and then of course other social media.
Well, when you get to be my age, here's the deal. Your skin sags, and the only way to get rid of sagging skin is you can't, creams won't do it. Nothing will do it. You have to get cut that's what you have to do.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to get a facelift because nothing else is going to work.
Right. So do you think that now, maybe because of social media, it's less acceptable to just age naturally?
I don't think well, in my generation, everybody, like our grandmothers and everything, they wore like house dresses and little socks and everything. They didn't look like we did. We do, I should say. I mean, now we have to have, lipstick on every day, and I don't wear house robes. That's what the look was then.
Right. So would you say that like your mother cared less about beauty standards than you, or?
No, she used to polish her nail. That was a big deal, polish her nails, and but she didn't put on makeup like I do.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and I just feel like now with how really accessible plastic surgery is getting, how easy it is, because now you can go and you can get Botox like anywhere and you can get it fastly,
Faster.
Yeah, and also there's other things out there like the whole industry is just growing really rapidly, how there's like facials and peelings and things like that. So basically where my like catch on plastic surgery is I've been afraid of like how fast it's growing.
Why?
And well, so I think that it's growing so fast and it's becoming so much more accessible that it's going to just be like the standard for everyone. So I think it will just be like, well, when you turn this age, like you get this procedure done and that's normal. So I think that it's just growing so fast that it's going to be to the point where if you don't have plastic surgery, you're going to be the outlier. Whereas probably in like
I don't know about that because it's expensive. A lot of people can't afford it. Excuse me.
So that's the thing too.
You have to have money to have all these things.
Well, that's why I'm afraid that like beauty is just going to turn into a classist thing, because then it will be, if you can't afford it, then like you aren't considered beautiful and then you'll just be stuck in your social class.
But some people don't care.
Well, of course.
They just don't care.
But I mean, if plastic surgery keeps growing and it becomes the standard type of thing for beauty, which I think it already is at that, like we look up to celebrities to like just make that standard reference point of what beautiful is, and they mostly have work done or they have really expensive products. So if that becomes the standard, and say you're in like a socioeconomic class that can't afford it, then you won't be considered like beautiful, and then it'll be hard to even just like get out of that class without.
I'm not so sure about that. I mean, I don't know about that. No, I don't think that's true. It's not going to be like for everybody. Some people really don't care.
Well, I agree with you that some people really don't care now, but just because of how fast it's growing and how I think that the ideal like body and beauty image is like set by plastic surgery, then you really can't reach it without plastic surgery unless you're just somehow naturally born that way, which I think
You are.
no.
Yeah, I think you are.
I'm not. But anyways, where I guess sparked all this conversation in my head, I watched a really interesting documentary on Netflix. It was one of their like explained documentaries. I think you've watched those before.
Yes.
They have one on plastic surgery, and they basically said that like beauty care and beauty like images are all like set on like a scale of like, you know, mild beauty enhancements like wearing makeup every day, taking a shower, dyeing your hair. And then on the opposite end of the spectrum is extreme beauty enhancements. So that could be like breast augmentations and Brazilian butt lifts and like invasive permanent surgeries. So basically they're saying that now it's like the normal and the requirement is to do things like take showers, of course, and wear makeup and like dye your hair, which I find interesting. And of course, this differs like so crazy between men and women because for me, I know if I were to go into a job interview and I wasn't wearing makeup, it would look unprofessional.
But you don't wear much makeup anymore, do you?
Well, I don't really wear makeup to like
Right.
to work as much because like I work by myself, but I think if I were seeing customers or like patients or if I was like seeing someone who was like buying a product that I was selling, I would have to wear makeup because I think that
The first appearance that anybody sees you is they base that on how you
right.
look.
Yeah.
That's the other thing that's so bad. Everybody has to base you on how you look.
Well, right. And then of course, since like men grew up never wearing makeup and
Right.
never doing any of that, then they aren't really like under this type of pressure. But I mean, I think for women, if you go into a job interview and you're not wearing makeup, then you look unprofessional. I mean, of course, there's like some women that can get away with it, but I think overall, like it's expected. And I don't even think that men can really recognize the difference between it. And I remember like in one class that I had, I was in like a courtroom testimony class because I studied forensic science. So I had to take this class, and like my professor was like, "Oh, well, you shouldn't wear as much makeup."
He told you that?
Well, no, like not me personally. He
Oh.
was just telling everyone like don't wear as much makeup because it looks unprofessional. And then like he like pointed to someone who was wearing makeup and they were like and he was like that's like a good example, like don't wear makeup.
Oh my gosh.
But it's like men just can't even understand the difference between when women don't have makeup on and when they do because I mean a lot of times like you can have no makeup on and you can wear a nice outfit but like it just looks off because like you don't look professional. And I mean, of course, it's just weird how that has become the standard. So now I'm saying, well, what if the standard is to like have a certain type of face structure or a certain type of body to be like appealing to customers? And of course, I think that like down the road, this will be applied to men.
Well, they
But,
do that now, though, Erica, a lot.
right. Well, of course. And I mean, of course, there's certain jobs that like inappropriately like require girls to look a certain way and things like that. But I think that there's going to be certain qualities that are going to be so important and normal in society that require some type of surgery or some type of like invasive cosmetic procedure that is going to become like required to even be seen as professional.
Well, I just remember Kenny Rogers. He had his eyes done, and they botched. I mean, that's why they called that program botched. And I mean, he changed his look so dramatically; it was awful. So you have to be careful who you go to. I don't know what happened. He could hardly close his eyes.
Yeah. Well, that's another thing I wanted to get into because in this documentary that I watched, they talked a lot about beauty standards in South Korea. And what I find so interesting about what's happening in South Korea is that a lot of people say that South Korean like beauty practices are 10 years ahead of America.
I really didn't know that.
Yeah, so we kind of get a lot of their like skincare and everything passed on like years later.
Why are they so advanced? Do you know?
Well, it just comes down to their values and how they definitely like will value like certain types of beauty, and then that's what they put their money in. I know in South Korea, like women spend twice as much on beauty products than they do in America, which is crazy to me because I think that
Yeah.
Americans already spend a lot of money.
Well, every place you go, I mean, it's all the creams, all of this, how to look younger, blah blah blah. And like
Right.
you said, you spend $200. That's a lot.
Yeah. So I mean, imagine that on like steroids in South Korea. So what where I'm going with this is that they spend so much money on beauty products, and there's like a one brand now in America, and it's called Glow Recipe, and it's was founded by two Korean women. They were on Shark Tank for it because they said that like beauty standards in Korea are 10 years ahead of America. So they're like bringing over some of their products. And that's some of the products that I use too now. But where I'm going with this is that plastic surgery is huge in South Korea. It's considered the norm. I mean, the biggest procedure that they get done is a double eyelid lift.
Oh, probably, yeah.
Well, so it takes the skin like above your lash line, and it basically like attaches it to the hood of your eye, like you know where like your orbital bone is.
Yeah.
So it kind of makes their eyes look like larger and cartoony, and that is considered like the
Beauty?
graduation gift of a woman in South Korea. Like when they graduate university, that's like their gift. Like you know how people in America get a car when they turn 16, like their parents buy them that procedure when they're like 22.
Well, that's interesting. I had no idea.
So that is like the standard. So then it's like, well, if that's like the typical thing to get done when you're 22, then all women are going to have that like look to them. And then that's the standard. So then say you're like a 30-year-old who couldn't afford to get that procedure, but then you're going to interview for a job in South Korea and you look so different than these other women, then you're like just going to, whether it's conscious like judgments or like subconscious judgments, like you're probably going to be like less of pleasing like for that job than another woman who might have that procedure just because they look normal.
That's bizarre.
Well,
I don't
exactly.
like that's awful.
Well, I know. And they even have a term in South Korea for like a certain look that will be like a pleasing to like in job interviews, because in the documentary that I was watching, like they said that like first impressions are really important
Exactly.
to their culture. So job interviews obviously are really important, and you have to have a specific type of look when you're going into job interviews. So not saying that this is going to be exactly translated like into American culture, but if Korean beauty standards are 10 years ahead of America and a lot of it has been pulled into American culture, say it becomes so prevalent in America that like this will happen where it becomes a requirement to even be considered for a job. I mean, obviously looks,
Well, definitely you get treated better if you look better. That is a
well,
fact.
yeah. I mean, pretty privilege already is 100% a thing. But then it comes down to when you start to apply, I mean, it already is applied to getting a job. Like, there's already been data out there that says that if you look better, like you have a higher chance of getting a job. If you look better, you seem more confident, type of things like that. And of course, that's out of people's control. But when it comes to down to such an extreme where surgery is considered a norm that makes you look better and is a requirement, well, if you can't afford that surgery, because of course surgery is expensive, that's why I'm saying it can turn into a class thing where you can't get these high paying jobs if you don't look a certain way. And then you can't afford to look that way because you don't have a high paying job. So then it will just make everyone stuck in their social class,
See,
which is all
I don't
based
think
off
I
of look.
agree with that
Why wouldn't you agree with that?
because I mean, there's just normal people that I mean, not everybody's pretty and that gets jobs.
Well, yeah, but I'm saying that like it might become. Like I think
Oh,
as
it
of
might
right now,
become.
it's not like that,
No,
but it
it's
might.
not like that at all.
Well, I think that it's starting to head towards that way, and I think that social media is really, really
Well,
accelerating
it's all
that.
money, 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 money. That's what this is all about.
Right. And I don't think that you're going to have the equal opportunity to participate in beauty without money.
for
which I
sure.
mean, it's like that, but I think it's going to become so extreme where, I mean, people are taking out loans to get plastic surgery.
I know they give you a payment plan, I think.
Yeah, so then it's like, I mean, there's things like how people are taking out loans too big for houses. I mean, now imagine you plastic surgery becomes so normal that, and you have kids, and you take out a loan to get plastic surgery, and then you lose your job or something, and then you like have to go into collections and file
Yeah.
bankruptcy because of a beauty standard.
And some people are more prone to this than some are really more prone to looking good all the time. And some people don't care. I mean, I
Right.
know both. So,
I mean, of course, and I think that that will last for a long time, but I think that in the direction that it's going to be the majority is going to care so heavy about how they look compared to the people who don't. And I think that like the difference between like the majority and like the minority is just going to get so large because it's becoming a standard. So basically, like going back to that documentary, they said, well, these things that are considered required, like taking showers, like dyeing your hair, like if you have grays, things like that,
yeah.
those are required now. And then some type of beauty enhancement that's like kind of considered like mild, like in the middle would be maybe like chemical peels and Botox and like simple like derma fillers.
Yeah, that's right.
That's just going to shift the spectrum where those things become required and kind of how we see dyeing your hair today. So like in 10 years, Botox might be equivalent to like how we view dyeing your hair because
Right.
it's going to
I see what
become
you're
so
getting at.
common.
Yeah, I see what you're getting at. Sure.
So then it's like basically the beauty standard itself isn't going to be natural at all. And it's just going to be based off of surgery, which becomes concerning, of course. And I mean, I think that there's definitely positives to plastic surgery because I think on an individual level, it definitely helps boost self-esteem and confidence. And there's also people who get plastic surgery like to feel more comfortable with like their gender identity and things like that. So I think that on an individual level, plastic surgery has a lot of benefits.
Oh, absolutely.
But then when you start looking at like as a group and how it can shape an entire group and an entire world and culture, then it becomes dangerous. And I think that in the direction that it's heading, it can become dangerous.
Why? Why is that?
Well, because of like everything I've said and how it could turn into like a classist issue. And then I also think that it could become dangerous because basically people are going to think that they have to get these surgeries, that they're getting them, then they start to get them unsafely. So, like how I was saying, how in South Korea, like it's super big there. They have like the highest amount of plastic surgeons per capita there. So people will come from around the world to go to South Korea to get these surgeries. And so in the documentary that I was watching, they have like these medical visitor centers where you can go there. They have like workers there who speak a lot of different languages, like from their most like popular like visitors, that will like help you like guide you through like literally where to go to get your surgery and like your work done. So I mean, imagine like how we have visitor centers like in New York City and like even in Cleveland we have visitor centers.
I would never go to South Korea to have anything done. Number one, I couldn't afford it, but
Right.
there's plenty of surgeons around here.
Well, yeah, and what I'm saying is that people will go like all over the world. But since South Korea has like such a high amount of surgeons and they just specialize in it there, like people are coming from all over the world. And I also think that South Korea is just going to be almost just like I think that's a look into our future of how
it's going to be the hub of all plastic surgery.
Well, it is the hub already of plastic surgery, but I think it's a look into American future because of how everything is there. And there goes down to like, I mean, that's surface level problems. And
well,
then
my question to you is, why do they know more than we do? Why do they have?
Well, it's not that they know more than we do. I think it just is valued more than we are right now. So that's what they put more time into, and that's like more of a desired profession there. I mean, here, like, not that many people are being like, I want to be a plastic surgeon, but to them, that's like the number one job that you would want to be. that's like what everyone's like striving to be, is like a plastic surgeon. I mean, obviously not everyone. I don't want to
No,
like
not
generalize,
everyone. Yeah.
but I'm just saying like that's what is like highly valued there. And I mean, all of the celebrities in South Korea have plastic surgery.
I don't even know one celebrity. Do you?
Well, no, because you don't live in South Korea. Well, I mean, but
Yeah, that's true.
it is really interesting. I mean, South Korea has K-pop, and it's like a music genre that
Yeah.
is actually has like huge international influence.
Oh, I know who they are. Those guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they all have plastic surgery. And I mean, what I think interesting is
They did?
interesting too. Yeah. Is that all of the men in like South Korea, well, all of the celebrity men in South Korea have plastic surgery. So I think that that kind of shows how in America more and more men are going to start getting it. Because right now, I mean, I saw like a report and it was as of 2020, 87% of plastic surgery or cosmetic procedures are on women, which I mean, I think is pretty understandable. I honestly would think that it would be higher, to be honest,
I don't
because
know.
I think it's definitely valued more than women. But I don't know the exact number in South Korea, but I think that we can see from them that more and more men are getting it there. So I think that it's going to make more men in America get it in like the coming years.
Well, I know all the men, they get Botox, so, for sure, the movie stars.
Oh, yeah, of course.
They get all that. But I would not have thought North Korea would be the hub of.
Well, not North Korea. That's South Korea. Definitely
Excuse
not North
me.
Korea. Yeah, definitely
South
not North
Korea.
We don't know what's happening.
Oh, we don't know what's
North
going to
Korea.
happen in North Korea. Okay.
Probably ever. But yeah,
Okay.
it's South Korea. But what is interesting, definitely about South Korea too, and I mean, I keep going back to them because really I think that they are like our like future like in America because of how everything's happening there. Their issues. Of course, we see, okay, plastic surgery is super prevalent in South Korea. We know that. Then you have to dig deeper onto their like issues under the surface because of plastic surgery. So basically, because in South Korea, they have so many plastic surgeons, they have so many practices for plastic surgery that there has been a lot of problems because there's so many plastic surgeons or like there's so many nurses that a lot of these clinics don't even have anesthesiologists. So these plastic surgeons and these nurses are putting people under anesthesia when they don't even really know what they're doing because they're not anesthesiologists.
I know, that's not very safe.
Right. And it's leading to a lot of botched surgeries in South Korea and a lot of problems. So in South Korea, they have like lawyers who are like dedicated to botched surgeries and like malpractice and things during surgery. But what I find really interesting
Tell me.
is in South Korea, if you want to sue a practice for like a botched plastic surgery or say like you wake up, most likely you're going to win. But as a country, they have a limit on how much compensation you can get from that claim. So, say you were in South Korea and they botched your surgery, they have like a monetary maximum that you can get from that lawsuit. So, I don't know how much it is, but say you got a botched surgery, they'll give you like $500 or something because you won the lawsuit, but you can't get more than that. So it's really not even, you're not even getting like a good payout for having like
So my
improper
point is,
surgery.
why go to South Korea?
Well, okay, I'm not saying to go to South Korea,
Well,
but I'm saying that I can see this happening in America. So say now
okay, all right.
in 10 years, because social media is really accelerating how like the demand for plastic surgery, say that like plastic surgery is like the new top desired doctor to become in America. So then say that more malpractice starts happening in America, I can see the American government like putting a cap on how much compensation you can get from a lawsuit. I mean, obviously, we're a lot different than South Korea, and our government is a lot different. But the way that the American government runs now, which I obviously don't want to fully go into, is that large companies who own everything in America help set laws in America because of the influence that they have. So if cosmetic procedures is like the number one business, like they're going to help set laws into our government. which is already like what happens underneath the surface that not enough people talk about. But what I'm saying is plastic surgery becomes so common in America, and it's getting there, that laws are going to change around it.
Maybe they will. I just think people are, the vainer the person is, that's who really goes for the plastic surgery, vain people.
Well, I mean,
they want to, everybody wants to look better, because when you look better, you feel better, you come
Right.
across better.
Right. So, okay. So, not really, I don't want to say that it's like more vain people, because I think that plastic surgery is going to be so normal that it's not even going to be like a thing of like wanting to look good. It's just going to be a thing of like wanting to like look professional, like look good enough. So I don't even think it's going to be like, oh, I want to look better than these people. I think it's going to be like, I want to look good enough to even go outside type of thing. I mean, well, because like, of course, there's some people who don't care about what they look like
when they're a lot of them.
Going to work or something like that. But of course, I mean, there's some jobs that will like fire you if you don't look professional at work, which is like understandable if you're like selling a product or something like that. But what I'm saying now is it's in the future, I can see it being like, well, you're not even going to look professional to go into your job if your face looks a certain way type of thing, because of how accessible plastic surgery is going to be. Just like how, so it's going to be more of a requirement than like a desire type of thing, or like a, like, or like something of vain. And of course there's going to be outliers, I think, where people don't fall into it. But I think right now it's the other way around, where it's like outliers are people who get these serious procedures done. And I think everything's going to switch, where it's going to be outliers are people who don't get it done. If that makes sense.
Not really.
So right now, I think that the minority of people get serious invasive plastic surgery. Like that's in the minority.
In the minority. I agree with that.
But now I think in 10 years, you're going to be in the minority if you don't.
Yeah, I would agree with that. It's growing so fast.
So I think that that's like a problem, because so it's now say that I want to have a daughter. I mean, like, wouldn't you feel bad for her if she feels like she has to get invasive and like painful plastic surgery just to even like get a job?
Well, not when you're like 20 or 22.
Well, I think it's going to get to that point where...
Really?
Yeah, it is like that.
Awful.
I know. Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, I think that it's going to get to the point where it is like that in like South Korea. Like, they have a term for like beauty enhancements done by surgery, like that make you more optimal, like for a job position. Which I think, and it's
awful.
I know it is awful, which is why that's like one of the... This is why plastic surgery is like one of the reasons why I've been like really afraid for the future. And I think that social media, of course, because social media just changes beauty standards really fast. And I think that's another problem is I think beauty standards change so quickly that people are going to get these procedures, and then what's considered in is going to be different in 10 years. And I think
there's only so much you can do to your face.
Well, that's to your face, but I think that like body is changing a lot. And I think that when I was like really young, I remember I feel like the ideal body image was like skinny legs, like but like a bigger waist, and then like bigger boobs. And now I feel like it's smaller boobs, like bigger butt, like bigger legs.
Yes.
So imagine if like 20 years ago you got surgery to have like bigger boobs, skinnier legs. And now, 20 years later, it's like better to have smaller boobs, like bigger legs, bigger butt type of thing. So now we don't know where it's going to be in 20 years.
Hell no.
And of course, when it comes down to, there isn't a high risk when it comes to like small facial procedures and like less invasive procedures. But then you have to look at the health risks that are associated with complete invasive body procedures. Because, like, have you ever heard of, like, the Brazilian butt lift?
Yeah.
Because, you know, the Kardashians.
Yeah, it looks terrible. I mean, they look horrible.
Okay, well, that's the standard now. And because I think, obviously, they have definitely influenced that look. But a lot of people want this procedure done. and it's literally the most dangerous cosmetic procedure you can get. And I saw a report, it has a mortality rate, like a death rate of 1 in 3,000,
Wow.
which I think is
High.
extremely
Very high.
high. I mean, 1 in 3,000. I think that's very high. I mean, think about how many people are getting nose jobs done. And basically, why it's so dangerous is because you're taking fat out of your stomach and you're putting it into your butt. And in your butt, you have like so many veins that lead to your heart. So you're just sticking fat in your butt, and this fat is just clogging your veins. And it could clog the veins that lead to your heart.
And then you're dead.
Exactly. So, I mean, and people really want this procedure done. And they're going to other countries to get it done so that they can afford it and like get it
And they
done
get botched,
like
though.
legally or whatever. And they either get botched where it doesn't look good, or they die.
Or they die. That's true.
So, I mean, and this is just one procedure. I mean, and then you can think of like what might be in like 10 years, and then that's a whole new procedure that's dangerous. And I think that, I mean, there's like problems with that. I've even heard things about, you know, how like breast implants are made of silicone.
And they break.
And they break, and then they go all over your body, and then you get silicone poisoning.
Well,
so, I mean, of course people say like beauty is pain, but like...
Yeah, that's right. You have to suffer to be beautiful.
Well, yeah, but I mean, now it's like beauty can be death. And...
Well, anytime you go under anesthetic, you can die.
Right.
So...
I mean, of course, I mean, I forget who that one woman who died is. She was like on Fashion Police. You know who I'm talking about.
Joan Rivers.
Yeah, she died because she was under anesthesia.
And yeah, but she wasn't in a hospital. She was just at a center.
Oh.
If she would have, she was just in a place in New York City, in a little office there that he did that.
Right.
And she wasn't in a hospital, so they didn't have the proper care for her because they didn't have it.
Right. Well, I mean, and look at, she's a celebrity and she has how much money, and she still died under.
And she really didn't have to do it. She was hoarse.
Well, she really, I mean, if you looked at her face, like she definitely got a lot of work.
I know, but she looked really good.
I think that's an opinion. Yeah.
I was going to say, you probably thought she looked horrible.
I thought she looked a little scary. And I mean, that's another thing too, is I think in the 90s, plastic surgery ended up looking a lot different than how it does now. And I think now it looks a little bit more natural. Yes. And like it's starting to look more natural because like there's a lot more science and money getting put into it to make it look natural, which is kind of scary because now, I mean, I think that there used to be a stigma around plastic surgery too, because...
Yeah, and you didn't want anybody to know what you were doing.
Right. And now I think it's more of an open thing because it's just becoming so normal that people are like, oh, this is my journey on getting a nose job. And they're posting it on TikTok for like everyone to see. And like, so the stigma is becoming less, which is a good thing in the sense that it makes people feel more comfortable with their decisions. But also, I mean, I think that can overall, as like a collective group, be a bad thing that it's like becoming so much less stigmatized that it's going to be the same thing as going to the salon to get your hair dyed.
Done. Yeah, dyed or get done.
So
it's all money-making things. And if you can get things changed, I mean, if you have the money, I say go for it.
Right. Well, so I think that it's hard for me to be like, oh, this person's right and this person's wrong because like what authority do I have on people's decisions?
It's just your opinion.
Right. I don't have any authority on people's decisions. I think like I don't blame people at all for getting plastic surgery or like these huge procedures because I think that like they're really just like trying to fit in. I just think that the pace that it's going and how fast it's going, that it's just like going to affect children so much in like 10 years because they're going to grow up with this being the norm.
Yeah.
So, and I mean, back to social media, I mean, everyone knows like all the toxic sides of social media. Like you don't even have to talk about that because everyone knows what it does to like body image and things like that. Because I mean, I think this might be like something interesting is how now I can open my phone and I can see what a million different people look like at all these hours a day and the best picture that they chose out of like so many different pictures. and I can see what celebrities are like looking like all the time and what these like fitness people are like looking like all the time. But when you were growing up, like that wasn't shoved in your face as much, right?
Not at all.
Right, because I mean, I don't even know how old magazines are. Like, did you have magazines?
Well, of course I had magazines.
Like, so,
Yeah, of course there was magazines, but there was no advertising for like beauty products like there are now. I mean, everywhere you look.
right,
And like you said you spent that money. I mean, easy.
right.
Because and really they're probably all the same ingredients. I think all vitamin
Yeah.
pills they came from the same place.
Well, yeah, and I mean, what I find interesting too is one of the biggest things that is like incorporated into South Korean beauty products is like gentleness, and like they don't use like harsh products. Like they use very natural, gentle products on their skin. And I think that that's where American products like differ a lot is we try and like attack our skin with like steroids and chemicals,
Chemicals,
and
yeah.
people end up burning their skin like chemically. So, I mean, it is interesting that, like, I think that, like, in Korean culture, like, beauty has just been valued for so long that they've always used these, like, natural, like, supplements and everything like that to enhance their beauty. But,
I would think in Japan they would do that because they're also thin there and have all those um, gardens that they can do.
I mean, you have to also look at the diet differences between,
Yeah, that's true. That's why they're all thin.
well, I mean, the diet between, like, South Korea and Japan and, like, all Asian countries, like, everything's so much more natural, and they're just, like, eating things straight from, like, farm to table. And, like, America, we all know, it's, like,
Fast food, no one has time. No one can sit
right.
to have dinner together. It's a
Yeah.
different.
So, I mean, it is definitely different. But going back to like social media and everything about that, how much do you think like social media has changed how like women think about themselves ever since you were my age, like compared to how I am now?
That's a good question. I think I have to think about that.
Well, right, because I mean, I think that, I mean, I grew up as social media was advancing. So, I mean, I think Facebook came out when I was in like sixth grade.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, I worked in beauty shops, and that's all about beauty, your hair, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
And that's why it came with me all my life to have makeup and everything. But that's just me.
Yeah. So I mean, but so now it's like I can open up Instagram and I can see like a fitness model working out, and then that makes me like feel bad about like my body type or something like that, because it's just like shoved in your face so much, you know?
Well, I don't worry about that because I'm older and
Yeah.
it is shoved in your face and I try to do the best I can, but like I said, I don't spend a lot of money on products
Right.
because
Well, so and then they like just extends to like my original point of me being like afraid to bring children into the world, because it's like if all of this is happening so fast in the past 2 years, I think personally in the past 2 years because of TikTok and how accessible like that's becoming, like how do you think that like girls will be like 10 years from now?
well, that would be you. Well, how are you going to be 10 years
Well, I'm
from
going to be
now?
like 30. So like now imagine a college girl in like 2030.
Well, I mean, yeah. I mean, they'll probably start getting, well, you don't really need things until you're like in your 40s or 50s.
Well, that's what you say now, but now people are saying get Botox when you're 20 because then it will stop wrinkles in the future.
Well, that's hard to believe. You got to keep going. That disappears.
Yeah, but
And it's
I mean,
botulism that's going in your face.
right. I mean, yeah, and it's like, I mean, I don't exactly know like the negative health effects on.
I think it goes away.
Yeah.
And that's why you got to keep on going. It's a money making thing. And I think it's wonderful, though.
So okay. So I think that it is good for people who, on an individual level, because it will make them feel better.
Absolutely.
Right. But then can't you see how in 10 years from now, it's going to be like required to get Botox? And I think that people, I mean, of course, I think that the whole aging process already is definitely like not natural anymore because of products that people are using. But I think that like it's going to change how people physically age now for like the rest of our lives on Earth. And then, of course, for the future generations, I think that the way that people age is just going to be completely different, and it's going to be a norm to age unnaturally compared to naturally, which I mean, it already kind of is. So, but couldn't you see how then in like 10 years from now, like if I were to have kids, how they would be ashamed to like get wrinkles, like while everyone else around them doesn't have any?
Well, in 10 years, it would be like more like 30 years from now, your kids would be 20.
Okay, well, yeah, but like you know what I mean. Like
Yeah.
not necessarily my kids, but I mean, say kids right now who are like 10 years old. Like there's a 10-year-old girl out there right now who's probably going to be, she'll be like 20 in like 10 years or whatever.
Yeah.
And she's like, at that point, I think plastic surgery is going to be so advanced and it's going to be as simple as just going to the nail salon that you're going to have to get Botox.
I don't think so.
And it's not even just Botox. I think it's like facial features are going to be changing and just changing like body shape. I mean, I think it's going to change how people like go to the gym instead of just like getting surgery and things like that.
Well, I mean, there's all kinds of people that they all go to the gym. They have to. I mean, there's just so much. It's all about beauty, 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 beauty.
Well, yeah, and then that's especially for women too, because I mean, which I also find interesting because now I think already the difference between guys and girls is crazy when it comes to like beauty standards.
I don't think guys like girls with a lot of makeup.
Well, that's like the funny thing is I think that sometimes like they say that, but then sometimes they can't even tell. Because I mean, I think girls are so used to makeup that they can wear a lot of makeup without looking like it, and guys can't even tell that they're different than a girl who like is actually wearing like less. You know what I mean? I mean, and then and it doesn't even come down to like attractiveness between men and women, but I think that women spend so much time and money into beauty that they're gonna look like 20 years younger than men. Like I think
Oh,
like
yeah.
and it's funny because I mean like my skincare routine, whatever, it's like $200 and it's supposed to help me stop to not get wrinkles in the future or whatever because that's what
I
people are saying.
I don't
That
I don't believe that, but okay.
well, apparently that's what's supposed to happen, so I'm spending all this money on skincare products.
Well, can you keep doing this what is it, every month? Spend another 200?
No. I mean, it should last me longer than that. But what I'm saying is, I'm spending all this money on skincare products because that's what I feel like I need to do because of like how everything's changing. And I feel like an outlier if I don't use these products. And so I feel like I have to do it now, especially because now they're saying that you have to use them before you start getting wrinkles to prevent you from getting wrinkles in the future. Okay. And then compared to my boyfriend, Brett, he like washes his face Dove soap and he just uses like a normal moisturizer every day. So it's like, and I mean, he probably does more than most men when it comes to
Probably,
skincare.
yeah.
So I think that it's going to be so crazy, like the difference between men and women when it comes to like how they look when they're older. I mean, I think that people are going to be married, they're both going to be 80, and the woman's going to look like she's 60 because of how much women care about all these new like anti-aging
Well,
things.
too, men bald, and that makes them look older
Right.
and that kind of stuff. So,
Yeah, and then like women dye their hair. I don't think men really don't dye their
no, well,
hair.
not some, but most men that dye their hair, it always looks horrible because it's usually too dark.
Well, yeah, because they don't know what they're doing and
They,
they don't care.
well, I don't know who they're going to, but they should be going to. They're always coming up with black or dark brown.
Right. Well, I think it's just interesting how now it's like whatever, 87% of cosmetic procedures are women. So it's like, are men going to start to try and catch up with that because they see that women are aging better than them? Like, do you think men are going to even care?
I don't know how vain men, I don't know how vain or what they think. I don't know if they care. I mean, they just get up in the morning, comb their hair, take a
Right.
shower, comb their hair, they're out the door.
Well, right, but will it become to a point too where like men feel like they have to do these things to even fit in, or is it just going to keep because I think that the beauty industry, of course, I mean, it always has put more pressure on women to look a certain way than men.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think also this is something that I find really interesting is how I think when you were growing up, men had to dress nicely. You know? I think like men always wore, when I watch movies and stuff, men wear like suits every single day,
Right. They did.
which now it's not like that at all.
No.
And I mean, I think women definitely dress more casually now than they used to, but I think they still dress more like formal wearing than men do on a daily basis.
Well, when I was little, I mean, we wore gloves. I mean, it was an outfit, you know. You just had gloves and you had an Easter outfit on and you had a little skirt and gloves and you got a hat. It was Easter and it was you got dressed up. I mean, but now Easter, I don't know what kids do if they still take pictures all dressed up, but like everybody got dressed up.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but I mean, not even kids though. I think like men in their
Oh.
20s.
No, I don't.
I feel like they wore like suits every day to work.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Right. Now they don't. And I mean, even this was like an interesting comparison that I just thought of because I just finished watching The Sopranos, which I don't know if you ever watched that.
Of course.
Yeah. Well, then, so after I watched The Sopranos, I watched The Godfather.
Oh, you finally got it. You
Well,
watched
yeah.
it.
So it was so funny because, I mean, the mom men in The Godfather are wearing suits and suspenders and like button-ups and ties. And then in The Sopranos, they're wearing jeans and like just t-shirts and tracksuits and things like that. So, I mean, I think even between, when was The Godfather? The 60s?
Yes. No.
Or the early 70s, I think
Yeah.
it was. The 70s and the 90s, how like men's fashion changed and got like so much like less formal. And I mean, same with women. I think it got a lot less formal too. But then you go into like nowadays and it's like very less formal. So it's like it's interesting how I think like it's almost like beauty standards for like women are going up, not necessarily by dress like comparisons, but they're going up by like products and like just like physical looks. And then I feel like the beauty standards for men are like going down when it comes to how they look.
I don't know if I agree with that. I mean, I think the younger people are into all these creams and stuff, like the 30-year-olds, the yuppies, or whatever you call them nowadays.
Well, yeah, that's true. I mean, I feel like from what I've seen, I don't know. I guess like the younger generation of like girls and guys, like I think that guys actually are starting. I mean,
They are.
I've seen some guys like on TikTok who are like 16 like curl their hair, which is like crazy to me. But maybe it's just my generation of men who don't care what they look like.
Yeah, most of the men just don't care.
Right. But I mean, I just think that plastic surgery, especially right now, is definitely like not attacking, but it's definitely like putting a lot of pressure on like women in our society.
For sure.
So,
with that being said,
yeah, basically to like wrap up all of that, basically the reason, and just looking at like other countries like South Korea, who's so far ahead of our beauty standards, and we know that a lot of things are taken from South Korea and put into like American culture as far as beauty. Just seeing where they're going, like they're like a crystal ball, I think, in my opinion, into American future. I think that it, as a collective culture shift, can be very negative on the mental health of like women and maybe all genders in the future. And I think that it can lead to classist issues. While I do feel like on an individual level, I can see the benefits of plastic surgery. And I don't think there's anything we can do to stop it from turning into what it's turning into. But as far as my opinions on it, I would feel so bad to bring a woman into this world. And maybe even a man in the future, maybe even a guy or whatever gender, into like this future where it's going to become required.
I don't know if it's ever going to, I don't think it's ever going to be required.
Well,
I don't, because people don't have money and like.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's going to be, required to
Well, your teacher,
go past like your like professional level and jump out of like your socioeconomic class. Like it's going to be required to look a certain way, and I think it's going to divide a lot more people. I mean, this is a whole nother discussion, but like the gap between the wealthy and the poor is already getting a lot bigger, and the rich are getting richer and the poor are getting poorer. And then I think when you put in looks into there and how much surgery can quickly change how you look with money, it's just going to keep making that gap grow bigger. And I think it's going to be a large factor onto that gap.
well, the bottom line is you have to have money.
Right, which is the problem.
Bottom line.
Well, the bottom line is you need money, which is the problem, which is going to make the richer richer and the poorer poorer, because now people aren't even going to be able to jump out of their classes, because even if they might be good at a job, they might not even be considered because they don't look rich, which is just, even whether it's a conscious judgment or like a subconscious judgment like by an employer, like it already happens. And I think it's gonna just contribute to that gap, and I think it's going to become a classist issue, and I think it's just going to affect people's mental health a lot. So I mean, I can't talk on people's actions, and I of course have spent so much money on skincare products to do exactly what Botox does in 5 minutes. Like I spent $200
I don't understand why
to stop wrinkles for like within 10 years. So
only 23 years old, you're not going to have them, and I don't think it's going to prevent them.
Okay, but that's what I'm saying. It's like that's what people are doing. So if I don't do it, I feel like I'm going to be left out.
I don't care what anybody does. I want to do what I want to do.
Right, which I mean, I think that everyone has the right to their own opinion, and I don't think that one person can stop this from happening. I'm just saying, for the way that I see it going, I think it's scary, and I think it like is sad, and I think it's going to change body image like so much, and it already has. So this is just one of the very many reasons why I would be afraid to have children in this world, because of how things have changed.
Well, I wouldn't.
So fast.
I don't know about the not having children because of beauty. I just think there's so much wrong going on right now.
Well, I mean, that's why I said this is one of the many reasons.
I get that, but it is scary. If I had to do it over, I don't know what I would do.
Right, and I mean, so basically, just for your viewpoint, from when you were my age to now, do you think that it's grown very fast gradually over the years, or do you think that in the past few years
I think
it's going a lot faster?
I think in the past few years in my age group it's going faster because everybody wants to get their face lifted.
Right. Well, do you think that like overall age groups though it's going faster because of social media?
Probably. I don't really know. I really never thought about it.
And I think just like science too, advancing and making it so easy to get plastic surgery.
Yeah, it's easy.
Right. So yeah, well, that was a good talk about it.
All right, well, let's just wrap this up. And this is our first podcast, so we're a little shaky on it.
Right. Hopefully it actually sounds good.
Yeah.
But yeah, we apologize if it sounds like dog shit. But thank you for joining us. And I guess if you have any topics that you would want us to talk about or any questions for either of us, you can message me on Instagram and I'll put my handle in the bio or something like that. I don't even know yet, but okay.
All right, this was fun though.
Yeah,
it was fun. I mean, I wasn't really prepared for what you were saying, but
I just wanted your opinion.
Yeah,
your immediate opinion on everything.
That's right.
Okay.
So signing off.
All right. Bye. Thank you.
Bye.